All right, so I said that the A horizon, that is the portion of the soil that is so important for primary productivity. It is the topsoil, is what is required for productivity. And I said it's so important that there are government agencies that their sole purpose in life is to produce and prevent the loss of topsoil, soil conservation districts. And in the U.S., the major threat to topsoil is soil erosion. You might have noticed anywhere you have like a house that's being built and they have machinery moving across the yards or whatever, they'll have bales of hay or these sort of long tubes that are around the perimeter of the property that are there to catch the soil to prevent it from washing away. And this is part of this process of limiting water erosion. So water erosion is the biggest source of soil loss in our part of the world. So it's the biggest threat that is here. And as a matter of fact, when I go back to my experiences in West Tennessee, which is where I lived, where we had the real thick topsoil, my experiences there, the problem with that soil, I said it was really weird. The stepping stones would sink down into it, and it was very mushy. It was highly erodible. It was some of the most highly erodible soil in the world. And so you have a lot of problems with soil erosion there. Now, they have lots of soil, so it isn't as big a problem as it could be somewhere else. But we'll talk about different types of water erosion on the next slide. But I want to talk about some other threats. In other parts of the world, where it's really dry, you get wind erosion. And so wind will blow the dirt away. It'll blow the topsoil away. And so that would be a much harder erosion to prevent, right? I mean, how do you stop the wind? And I don't know the answer to that. But anyway, in some parts of the world, wind erosion is a major problem. In China, we'll talk about how the deserts are encroaching on some of their major cities, and it's this wind-blown soil. What do you do? How do you prevent that? I can tell you the only answer I would have for it is you need to try and capture as much soil moisture as possible because it won't blow away if it's sticking together by having soil moisture. Now, another problem we do have is this next thing, salination. In places where it's really hot, if you go out to Las Vegas, and you'll see places where they irrigate, it's very lush and all kinds of growth there. And then other places it's just dirt, just dirt and rocks because they don't have any water there. So where does the water come from at these places where they do irrigate? They get it from real deep wells. And so what happens? They put it on the surface of their land, and you might have hard water. You ever, in your bathroom and on your shower walls, sometimes you have to clean off this mineral scale that eventually builds up there. That's salts that are in your water. Now, it's not a problem for us, but if you're putting this water on the land in a really hot climate like Vegas, it evaporates. And over time, it leaves these salts, and eventually the soil will get to where it can't support plants. Plants don't grow well in salt water. And so after a while, if you get so many salts building up in there, the soil won't, you can't grow anything on it because of evaporation, this high levels of evaporation, and you put mineral-rich water on the surface all the time, you get, eventually the soil is useless. You can't grow anything there. Now, the other thing that we have to mention now, after the last, for like 20 years, I actually don't remember exactly, so in the 90s maybe, was when Chernobyl happened, and that was where we had a nuclear disaster in Russia, and there was radioactive material that was released. Well, that radioactive fallout gets incorporated in the soil and in the life, and it can make some areas unusable for food. And we, of course, we had Fujiyama, or we had the same kind of a problem with the earthquake and tsunami in Japan, where they have radioactive fallout. So in terms of what are the threats to the age rise and to topsoil, water erosion, that's the one that we deal with the most. Wind erosion, buildup of salts in the soil, and radioactivity.